I've always loved Venom as a character, and the symbiotes were always fascinating to me. And now that we have a bunch of new symbiotes, there's a lot to talk about. By the way, if I screw up and pronounce it symbiote, forgive me. I heard that in the 90s cartoon and it kinda stuck. But let's start with one of the more recent arcs, the Absolute Carnage arc, which introduced a whole plethora of new symbiote forms, and dang are they good. And also, to those of you I annoyed into DMing me yesterday, don't worry, I won't be a shrill today. I just wanted to have some fun and get over dramatic. Now, let's get started. Number 10, Miles Morales Symbiote. That was fast. After being infected with an offshoot of the Grendel symbiote by Carnage, the symbiote took control of Miles and transformed him into a 6-armed Carnage doppelganger. And for those unaware, I'm referring to the character doppelganger. Strong enough to contend with Venom, the Miles Morales symbiote proved exceptionally dangerous, enough that Venom was willing to kill Miles to stop it, but was stopped by Eddie. It briefly also took hold of Jonah Jameson, but Miles chose to rebond with it so that he could use it to fight Dark Carnage, and briefly overcame its will. Sadly, this didn't last, and Miles succumbed to the symbiote, attacking Eddie. Fortunately, Eddie was able to kill the symbiote when he channeled electricity through Captain America's shield, and finally freed Miles from its grasp. Number 9. Probably the oldest of the new symbiotes on this list, I made a mistake trying to pronounce that, is a peculiar symbiote, which feeds on the host's brains rather than adrenaline. So much so that in Realm of Kings Imperial Guard number 5, when it was separated from its host Razzle Longknife, it was launched at the corrupted Charles Xavier of the Cancerverse, who was basically a giant brain monster, and it began to eat him. This one's bizarre. Number 8, Hulk Venom. After a disagreement with Venom about the way to proceed in dealing with an even stronger Carnage, Venom leaves Eddie Brock to find someone strong enough to work with him, and he finds Bruce Banner. Venom immediately takes a new form, a combination of Venom and Hulk, that I'll call Venom Hulk. Venom Hulk proves more than a match for Carnage, but after entering the Venom Hulk's mind and depowering it to Bruce Banner, Carnage manages to absorb Venom, enhancing his power to an even greater degree. Alas, Hulk Venom was to be short-lived. Number 7, Dark Carnage. This guy may not be a totally new symbiote, but his powers and forms are, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger as the story goes on. So much so that the combined efforts of Captain America, Wolverine, and the Thing are useless against him. This version of Cletus Cassidy was briefly connected to the Dark God Null, but that connection was broken when he ripped out Scorn's spine to consume the Codex, the trace elements of the Carnage symbiote left over from when she hosted it. Cletus decides to take part in helping to free Null, and begins to consume the codices of other symbiote hosts. This leads to him gradually growing in power until finally, after consuming Venom Hulk, he achieves his 5th form, resembling a devil. Dark Carnage proves more than a match for every opponent he comes up against. That is until number 6. Legion. Eddie Brock, in an act of desperation after freeing the mind of Miles Morales, discovers that the Scythe device had harvested codices and chose to use them to create an alternate version of Venom known as Legion. After being tackled through the ground into the tunnel where Dylan Brock, Eddie's son, and Normie Osborn were hiding, Dark Carnage reveals his hand. No matter what Eddie does, Null will reawaken, and thus, Eddie impales Dark Carnage with a Necro Sword, killing Cletus Cassidy and absorbing Grendel and Venom. Dang, that was a fun read. Anyone who says Venom is overrated hasn't read this. Number 5, Anti-Venom 2. Anti-Venom, aka Flash Thompson as Anti-Venom 2, came to be after Flash Thompson confronted Eddie Brock at Alchemax's astrobiology lab, wanting to return to being Agent Venom. Venom did not wish to choose between the two hosts, and much like any fool in a love triangle, attempted to have his cake and eat it too. Or rather, eat both cakes, in that it tried to bond with Flash and Eddie at the same time. Spider-Man attempted to kill the symbiote and overturned one of the vats of anti-venom serum, dousing Flash in it, causing the symbiote biomass bonded to him to be altered into a replica of the original anti-venom symbiote. This version of the symbiote seems to have all the same powers of the original anti-venom, including superhuman strength, durability, and stamina. Sadly, Anti-Venom 2's appearance would only be brief, as Norman Osborn used the Carnage symbiote to become Red Goblin, and when Anti-Venom confronted him, he was able to kill Flash and the symbiote, ending his tenure as Anti-Venom. Number 4. Scorn. Scorn is the offspring of Carnage after the symbiote escaped from its containment cell and left its offspring within Tranus Neve's prosthesis. After Shriek took Neves hostage, Neves got near the new symbiote and became one with it, creating Scorn. Sadly, the fate of Scorn does not look good, as during the events of Web of Venom Carnage Born number 1, the recently reborn Cletus Cassidy ripped out Tranus' spine, presumably killing her and absorbing her symbiote as he had so many others. Number 3. Sleeper. Sleeper is the 7th spawn of Venom and was actually born from an unusual pregnancy. It attached itself to the Scorpion, but Venom and Eddie were worried that allowing it to bond so young might result in it becoming a monster like, well, nearly all the other symbiotes. So Venom and Eddie chose to leave it in the care of Alchemax. Sleeper has proven an ally of Venom and his family, having protected Eddie's son Dylan and Normie Osborn from the Phage symbiote while it was serving Carnage. Sleeper attempted to bond with Dylan, but Dylan's symbiote powers repelled him. Dylan managed to control Sleeper and shaped it into a wolf to attack Hybrid. Speaking of whom, number 2, the Maker Hybrid. Hybrid itself has been around since 1996, but Hybrid during the Absolute Carnage arc attached itself to the Maker, aka Reed Richards, who honestly proves to be kind of a dick. Like, he's just a thinly veiled jerk to Dylan and Normie, prompting Dylan to, as he put it, do something stupid. So they obtain weapons and upon firing free the Hybrid symbiotes, who immediately come together and absorb the Maker, creating a brand new Hybrid. The Maker Hybrid promptly pursues the boys, seeking to take the Codex out of Dylan. Despite the combined efforts of Hawkeye, Dylan, and Sleeper, the Maker Hybrid manages to escape and flees into the sewer. Number 1. Andy Benton as Scream. Scream is by no means a new symbiote, but her partnership with Andy Benton is. Andy Benton was a student at West Philadelphia High School, which eventually led to her becoming partnered with the symbiote Mania. During the events of Absolute Carnage, Carnage sent a horde of symbiote doppelgangers to kill her, as well as Patricia Robertson, who was currently taken over by the Scream symbiote. After Carnage impaled Andy on a meat hook in a processing warehouse, Scream attempted to rescue her, but was fatally injured. Abandoning Patricia's corpse, the Scream symbiote bonded with Andy, making her the new Scream. Andy has a somewhat tragic relationship with Scream, finding herself depressed and resenting sharing a headspace with the Scream symbiote. And I won't spoil, but so far, things have not ended well. That is it for now on New Symbiotes, as this arc is still going, and I have some catching up to do. Who knows, by next summer we might have 10 more. Guess we'll see. Until then, have a good one.